Hey everyone, I'm Shaun Proulx, host of The Shaun Proulx Show here on OUTtv. The continuing news of more queer teens killing themselves following bullying by schoolmates for being queer seems to be making people everywhere finally sit up and take notice. Statistics show that 9 out of 10 GLBT teens experience homophobic harassment at school, and they also show that queer teens are 4 times likelier to attempt suicide than their straight counterparts. For me, it's especially difficult to watch the rise of cyberbullying, attacking someone without even looking them in the eye. I guess cowardly bullies just get more cowardly as time goes by. The bullying I experienced when I was in school growing up in rural Ontario was more old-fashioned, I suppose. Every time I stood up from my desk in elementary school, I could count on one of the kids at least who sat behind me to hiss "fag." It got to the point where I wouldn't want to get up from my desk anymore. In high school, we had to ride on a yellow school bus 40 minutes there and back daily. At the end of a school day, when my classmates were at their rowdiest as we traveled home on the bus along dirt roads, I would shrink down into my seat, which I'd have to myself because no one would sit with me. I'd have my legs folded up, pressing under the seat in front of me, doing all this folding and shrinking in the hope no one would notice me. I would stare out the window and count down the minutes until I was home, using different visuals en route to know I had half an hour left, 15 minutes left, 3 minutes left. I'd feel lucky if I made it to my stop without having been harassed, but inevitably, as I unfolded myself and stood to my full 6'4" height, I'd be spotted and it would start, fast and furious. Whatever the bullies had in their hands would be hurled across the bus at me. Kids would stick their feet out into the aisles trying to trip me, they'd push, and then even as I made my way out the bus, windows would open and they'd spit at me, calling me, of course, fag. Every school day, every year throughout high school, I felt humiliated, I felt alone, misunderstood, I felt it was unfair, and I most of all felt I must have been wrong somehow to deserve what was happening. So I feel very qualified to tell you, especially if you're a kid being bullied at your school by your classmates because you're queer or because they say you are, that I guarantee it gets better. For me, change began when some of the bullies dropped out of school. Then towards the end of my high school life, many of the bullies had started to grow up and say sorry and that they were wrong. A couple of them became my friends. If you're in a small town like I was, the option is often there to move to a bigger town or city where acceptance of queer people is more the norm too. But here's what's most important. There will come a time when you will be able to look back at what you had to endure, and regardless of how painful it was, you'll still be able to understand that the experience actually made you the amazing person you have become. Any bullying you've been subject to has already made you stronger, and you know that. It has also made you kinder, more compassionate, more empathetic, and more determined to grow and live the best life you possibly can. And not only that, but do it by your own set of rules. That's why queers are so fabulous in the first place. When the yellow bus full of bullies would pull away, I remember I'd walk toward my house and say to myself, one less day, one less day, one less day, meaning I'd made it through, that there was a limited time to this, that I was getting closer and closer to the bullying being over. Obviously, I had the right idea, even if I couldn't put it as clearly to myself with the right words. But I can now, so let me tell you what I couldn't tell myself then. It gets better. I guarantee it.